Hello everybody and welcome to Reprieve Media CIC, and my name is Paul Newman, and thank you very much for joining us today. As always, it is very much appreciated. Right, what we've got coming up for you now is those of you who are shrewd enough to have been reading our articles recently will have known about a charity fundraiser that we've written about in our news outlet, Essential Reading, promoting a charity head shave. A man called Basement Wyatt up in Newcastle. We're delighted now to be joined by a lady that, well, in my opinion, has gone beyond far and away the call of duty in around this event, because she has kindly allowed Desmond, or Des as he likes to be known up there, to use her restaurant to put on a bit of an event on the day, folks, for the good people up in the northeast. They can go along and just have a look round at Basement Snaxx and watch the head shave and take part in the day, really. So that is really, I think, well, without any shadow of a doubt, a fantastic gesture. So without further ado, may I introduce you to the owner of Basement Snaxx, which is a restaurant in Newcastle, but more of that from the lady herself. Her name is Donz Wyatt. And Donz, I understand you are there now on the other end of this call. Are you there?
Hi, I'm here.
Fantastic. Donz, may I like to say, take this opportunity to thank you personally for offering your services on the day of the event. I know it's very much appreciated. So before we get down to business, can I just say thank you?
Oh, thank you for thanking me. That's really nice.
Anytime. So we're just gonna start the interview really with a bit about yourself and your business, if that's fine. So if you'd like to just tell us a bit about yourself, please, before we start. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Donz. I'm a middle-aged, short mother of 4 with blue dreadlocks. I've got 2 grandchildren. I'm a bit of an empath, a healer, a dreamer. I love festivals, and I'm a bit of an idealist. I really like helping people and being there to help boost people on in what they want to do. That's very much what I do.
Fantastic. It all sounds very admirable traits to have in a human being these days. There's not much of it about, really, in my personal view. So how did a lady like you end up starting her own cafeteria? Has it always been a dream of yours to run your own business?
Yes and no. I wouldn't say that it was a dream to own a business. I never really thought of it in those kind of technical terms. I just had a dream, to quote a very famous man. From being quite a young girl, I really fancied the idea of cooking. I loved cooking. Cooking captured my imagination probably when I was about 12 or 13. I started cooking most of the family meals at home, inventing special little dishes. So for most of my life, I've kind of talked about having a little tea, coffee shop, a little food place, and wouldn't that be lovely? But I don't think I ever thought about it in terms of owning a business. I didn't dream of being a businesswoman. That was the last thing on my mind.
Yes, I mean, I think it's the same. It's the same with me and most people. I think people just fall into it, don't they? So obviously, you sort of intimated yourself there that you were really a relative rookie in setting up businesses around legislation, around really getting it off the ground. So what help did you receive from the authorities in setting up your business?
I didn't get any help. Nobody's ever helped me. I've kind of just done it all by myself. I did a little bit of a crowdfunder so that my friends and family could get in if they wanted to chuck a £5 in the pot. And that paid for my year's business insurance. And then I accidentally got a loan from the bank, which I didn't intend to get. I just applied for a loan. Basically just under the guise of like, would I be entitled to a loan, like, for example, for a new car? And I was going through that process one night. I was a little bit drunk while I was thinking about, am I going to do this thing? Am I not going to do this thing? This opportunity had come my way, and I needed obviously a little bit of collateral to be able to buy the business as such. So I did this thing on the computer very late at night after a few cans, and the bank kind of bounced back and said, oh yes, you could have a loan, and do you want to go through to the credit check bit? In previous experiences, when I'd gone for a loan, the screen would come back and say yes or no. if yes, you can come into the bank and sign a bit of paper. So that was what I was intending to do, and then discuss it with my husband if I'd been accepted. And what happened was about 3 seconds later, I had the money in the bank, which I didn't really intend for to happen. So that's kind of how it happened. But I've never had any help other than that. I've done everything myself on a shoestring.
That's brilliant. Accidentally getting a bank loan. I mean, fair play. These things happen, and I think I don't know if I've ever heard a better advert for Dutch courage in my life than what you've just said.
Yeah.
I bet you were quite sort of about thrown in at the deep end. It was all hypothetical, and then all of a sudden there you are with the money you needed to really make your dreams a reality. It must have been a strange moment.
It was a bit of a shock to the system because I didn't think it was going to happen. It was a bit of a pipe dream. I'd already been made aware of this place becoming available about in the May. I'd gone and had a look, and I didn't have the confidence to do it. I didn't have the collateral to do it, and I'd walked away and I'd said no. And then about 6 months later, the lady that runs the shop upstairs from me, who owned the building, called me back and said that the people who had accepted it when I said no had decided it wasn't for them, and they were going to move abroad, and they were done with it, and they wanted rid of it. Did I want to come and look for a second time? I went along because I'd fallen in love with the place for 6 months, and it had really upset me that I'd said no. So I went along and looked again, and it felt a bit like self-punishment. And then I set this crowdfunder, and I tried for the bank loan, and it was all, like you said, a bit hypothetical. Didn't really expect it to happen, but I was in a place in my previous work life where I was a little bit broken and I really needed a change. And then all of a sudden, whoosh, within about 4 weeks, I'd gone from working in this job that I'd worked in for six years to signing contracts for a cafe. And it never felt real. It was very strange, very surreal.
So you mentioned your previous job there. What did you do before you started with Basement Snaxx then, Donz?
I'd been working in care off and on for about 13, 14 years. I'd started working for a national charity that supports deaf people who have additional needs, such as autism, learning difficulties, physical disabilities, and because I learned sign language, British Sign Language, that's where I'd ended up working for a while. And within about a year and a half, I'd made my way from being a support worker to senior support worker to manager of the North East services. But it was very intense, and it was a very hard job. After about 13, 14 years in care, I'd hit a wall. I was always at work. I would be at work 7 days a week. I would never see my kids. I'd never see my family. And I'd kind of just hit a place where I really needed to change. I really needed to change my life. I was in my mid-40s, and I couldn't keep going on like that anymore. So that's what I was doing beforehand. And I loved the job very dearly, but it takes a lot out of you.
So all of that brings us on nicely to the business itself. It's called Basement Snaxx. Just tell us a little bit about it, Donz, please, if you could.
So Basement Snaxx, it's located in Newcastle, on a street called Ridley Place, and it's in a building that was built in 1824 by Lord Earl Grey's builders. So obviously you're aware of the famous Lord Earl Grey, who the tea's named after. He had a building company and built quite a bit of Newcastle, including this street where I'm based. Previously, before me, there was a guy called Flat Caps who'd owned it for 7 years, and he'd made quite a good reputation for artisan coffees. And he'd moved on to bigger premises. I came into the place, which is literally a basement. I mean, it's not just in name alone, it is genuinely in a basement. You go down a spiral staircase into this little room that's absolutely beautiful. And I've been there for about a year now. I do food, I do coffee, I do tea. It's very much me. It's very much my room. You walk into Donz's territory when you're in that place.
Sounds fantastic. I understand it's a vegetarian restaurant or vegan restaurant. Is that correct?
Not really, no. It's an omni restaurant. Well, I certainly started out life as an omni restaurant. I had this vision where I was going to have a menu that was equal for vegans and vegetarians and meat eaters. Because quite often I've been vegetarian on and off for most of my life. And quite often you'd go into a restaurant or a cafe and there would be 1 or 2 vegan, vegetarian options. It would always be a a vegetarian lasagna or a vegetarian burger. It was always just a little bit rubbish that you'd have these one or two options. And my vision was it was going to be 50-50. You know, you could come in with your meat-eating friends as a vegan. You could order the same thing. You know, I've got a couple of curries that I do and I just alter them a little bit. But you could basically be eating the same thing as your meat-eating partner, enjoying the same flavours and enjoying the same sort of dishes, but obviously more catered. So that was kind of the dream. I kind of feel like I'm being filtered a little bit down the vegan route. I just had Veganuary where I went pretty much fully vegan to support Veganuary and encourage people to try meatless dishes that might not have done that beforehand. For the moment, I've kind of stayed vegan. I've still got a few things on the menu. I haven't started a new menu yet, and it's been quite a hit. There's a lot of people come down and check me out a little bit more because I am just vegan at the moment. But I didn't want to stay that way because obviously it alienates an audience, it alienates people. It goes away from the vision that I have. So I'm not a vegan veggie place only, but I certainly wanted to be a 50-50, which isn't happening at the minute. The vegan and the vegetarian stuff seems to have really hit off.
Oh, fantastic. I mean, obviously, if you're supplying what your customers want, then you're onto a winner. You mentioned that a lot of people pop down to Basement Snaxx. Where would you advise people to check out Basement Snaxx before they have a look? Where can they find menus and more about the business?
I have some social media. I have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Facebook and Instagram are quite good. They've got pictures of the food that I do and the drinks that I do. Some of the menu boards go on there, so you've got an idea of what's going to be on and what the prices would look like. But my menu can change quite frequently. I would go shopping, I would see a set of ingredients if that's what I'm going to cook that day. So it's very changeable. I would never have a set menu that's up all the time. It's a case of kind of coming and see what I've got on that day or coming and see what I've got on that week. I only do very small batches of dishes. So if I make a curry, I might only do 9 or 10 portions. You've got to get it while it's there because then I'll move on and do something different. My Twitter account's a bit rude. I would warn anyone that goes on it, but I swear quite a bit. I'm a little bit more myself on that particular account. But Facebook and Instagram are quite clean and nice and safe.
The best place, and they're obviously both called Basement Snaxx, the names for that account, for those accounts, yeah?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, if you do a search for Basement Snaxx, I pretty much will be the only person that'll come up.
Fantastic. So you touched on things there that you like to do, the different things, and you class yourself as quite a versatile restaurant. We're just going to touch on something quickly that happened last week at Basement Snaxx. You were actually a proud supporter of a vegan restaurant week, I understand, Donz.
Yeah, I was approached by a blogger on Twitter to see if I wanted to take part and do something on Vegan Restaurant Week, which I felt quite honoured that someone thought that I would be good enough to go on to that because it's not something I would have considered before. I wouldn't have pushed myself forward for that. All throughout the last year, I've come in very quietly because I've got no experience and I'm kind of learning on the job. I've literally jumped from being a care worker and a manager into a kind of restaurant business. So I kind of came in very quietly. I've never done anything very big. I haven't advertised myself. So to be put onto somebody's map in that way, to be on someone's periphery and say, would you want to come and join us and be part of this? And they promoted me a bit. They put me on the lists of restaurants that were taking part in Vegan Restaurant Week. And that was great. That was great to be noticed and wanted to be part of that. It felt a real honour. And it was good because it brought people that had never been to my place who might not have heard of me before because I've been so quiet and I hadn't advertised myself in many places. It just gave me a bit of an opportunity to be seen by people that hadn't seen me before and didn't know I was there because my shop, it being in a basement, it's literally invisible. You don't see it from the street. You could walk past the shop a million times and not know I was there unless you know I'm there. So it was nice to be put on the map a little bit.
Fantastic. I mean, it sounded like you had a great week and you really had a good time and enjoyed it.
I did. It was a very steady week because I'm sort of underground and not known about. A lot of people would just pass on by. So it was nice to have what was, a bit of a steady week and see some new faces. I've built up a little bit of a loyal customer following. Those people that know that have come and found me and enjoy the food and enjoy my company, enjoy the ambience of the place, which is something I work really hard to create. They will come back quite regular and quite loyally, but you don't often see new faces. So some people kind of came wandering down and tried the homemade cakes, tried the new dishes that they might not have had anywhere. They were really impressed. And I'd see them go off and say lovely things about the cafe. They would give me compliments to the guys that run at the shop upstairs. And I'd see them posting on social media about it. So it was really nice to have a buzz about it that just wasn't there before. And it made me feel like I'd taken a step up, probably for the first time since I'd opened.
That's fantastic. I mean, brilliant work. Well done. We're going to wrap up this part of the interview now. And what I like to do at the halfway point of the interview is allow our guest just to pick a song for the interview, just to break it up a bit, give ourselves both a break, give our ailing voices a break. So, Donz, would you like to pick a record for that, please?
I most certainly would. I'm probably going to pick a record that nobody has heard of, because I'm a bit of a champion for local bands. Like I said before, really admire local bands and I like to give people a boost. One of my favourite local bands to Newcastle is a group called the Smoking Coconuts, who are absolutely fabulous. They do world punk ska music. It's very much in a genre of its own. And my best friend Stig is an autistic Newcastle-based musician who does electronic music, and he plays the synth for the Coconuts. And he actually just released an album called Divergence, which is all his remixes that he's done for other artists of their songs. Well, in amongst that is a Smoking Coconuts song called Whose Side Are You On? And Stig's remix of it is just magical. I can't keep still when I'm listening to it. It's one of the best songs I think I've ever heard. It deserves to be heard by a wide audience. So for that reason, I think I'd like to... Okay, the song is called Whose Side Are You On? By a band from Newcastle called the Smoking Coconuts, and it has been remixed by a Newcastle musician called Stig, who can be found under the name of Stig Music.
Fantastic. I mean, that sounds as good a reason as any for a reason to play a record. Fantastic to promote local artists, as you said. So this song is presented by Donz Wyatt and it's by the Smoking Coconuts and it is called Whose Side Are You On?
Someone's gonna pay, it's a shame.
Oh, what an interesting record there. I mean, yeah, you were right. It's got a certain interesting sound to it. That was the Smoking Coconuts and Whose Side Are You On? And this is Reprieve Media CIC. We're just taking a quick look at a charity event that's taking place on the 16th of February this month. 16th of February this month. Bum bum. 16th of February this year. And we are joined now to continue the interview with Donz Wyatt. She is the owner of Newcastle-based restaurant Basement Snaxx. Donz, are you there?
I'm here. Hi, Paul.
But there's plenty going on there at Basement Snaxx. I mean, I've obviously, since I became aware of your fantastic offer to help Des on the day of the charity event, more of that soon, folks. There's actually quite a lot going on at Basement Snaxx. You've touched on before when we spoke earlier about you are a very community minded person, and you do see Basement Snaxx as well a hub where you envisage that people can meet up, and you put on a fair few events there, don't you? I mean, if you'd like to talk about them for a bit, then feel free.
I do. I think I always saw it as a community vision. When I envisioned the place that I was going to have, it would have to have certain qualities to it, because obviously it embodies me. The business is me. I don't have any help. There isn't a cleaner or a pot washer or a cook or a barista or a front of house. It's all me. I literally do everything from scratch by myself. And I had huge visions of the place being communal, filled with music, filled with various different people that would come in and use it. I'm very much an all-encompassing girl that doesn't discriminate against anybody. I wanted a place where people could come and feel safe and calm because of the atmosphere and the ambience of it. You know, I'm right next to what is essentially the most busiest shopping street and shopping centre in the northeast. Other than the Metro Centre, I'm next to Northumberland Street, which is the most famous street in Newcastle. And it gets very, very busy, and you've got the Eldon Square, which is absolutely chock full of people. And I know that people have major issues going into town and get a bit panicky, get a bit overwhelmed. I wanted to offer this place that you could just step off from the side of Northumberland Street and come down to the cafe and just sit and chill and feel better. I want people to walk out of that place feeling different from how they walked in. So I've worked very hard to put different events on. I've put music events on. I put a deaf awareness course on, where I taught people a little bit of sign language and how to communicate with deaf people in a way that was more accessible. Do storytelling. We've had poetry days. We've had hip hop days. We've had yoga, partner yoga. We've had all sorts going on down there, just to really encourage and entice people down to feel good about themselves. And I also want it to be a venue where, because it's a very small room, it doesn't hold many more than maybe 40 people comfortably. I want it to be a little music venue for guys like students or new bands that haven't had a chance to really hone their skill or perform for people and maybe might be a bit overwhelmed by a bigger venue. I want to offer this little intimate space where people can kind of get a bit of experience and gain a bit of confidence to get out there into the bigger world and do what they do. So I want everyone to come and use this as a communal space. I want them to feel like it's theirs, and I want them to feel good. And you know, that's pretty much the vision I had for it. And I've still got some events to come as well. I've got a poetry safe space day where I'm going to celebrate diversity in Newcastle. We have a lot of transgender people. We have LGBT community. We have shy people. We have autistic people. We have a huge diverse community of different cultures. It's like a melting pot of culture in Newcastle. I want them to feel like everybody's included, that everybody's welcome. And I will never, ever tolerate anybody being discriminatory or horrible or, you know, predatory. I would never, ever tolerate that. This is a place where you could guarantee to come in and feel safe, feel good, be able to take part in things and walk away, and you will always be looked after and protected by me.
Fantastic. I mean, you touched on there that you actually, out of the goodness of your heart, passed on some of your skills regarding sign language, communicating, and that's I mean, how do you find that goes down? I mean, do you find that really did help the community of Newcastle? And was that service available anywhere else before you did it?
People can go on deaf awareness training courses. A lot of people tend to do things like that through work placements, or, you can go and learn BSL at colleges and at local deaf clubs. But it's not very often you'd walk into a cafe and find the owner who's fully fluent in BSL. And I find that the communication between people who are deaf and people who are hearing can be very unusual. People don't really know how to treat deaf people. I see it all the time because of the work that I've done and the advocacy work that I've done. And I see people who speak to deaf people and try and talk louder, or try and make their mouths really big. 9 times out of 10, they'll be looking away from them. There's such bad communication and a lack of awareness around. And bearing in mind that BSL is the fourth most used language in the United Kingdom, and yet it's the least recognised. So I really feel quite passionate about being able to teach people how to communicate better, just in general, not just with deaf people. Communication is very much key, and people really enjoyed it. There wasn't a lot of people that came because I hadn't been open very long at the time. But, they learned how to do some alphabet. They learned a couple of basic signs. They had good fun, and they walked away knowing how to communicate and feeling a bit more confident about, if they ever did have to communicate with someone who was deaf, just how to do that naturally. And it's really obvious, the rules. Look at somebody in their face, talk normally, look at them the whole time that you are talking to them, so they can see your lips moving and an idea of your facial expressions and your body language. It went down really, really well. I'd like to do it again sometime this year, and hopefully, because I'm a little bit better well known now by more people than compared to what I was last year, I'm hoping it'll make a bigger crowd.
Fantastic. So obviously now your life has been changed. You're in a position to help others.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's been a hell of a year, but if it hadn't have been for the people that helped me along the way, I wouldn't have done it. I would never have had the guts to do it. I was fully supported. Even when I was kind of really frightened about what I was going to do to our family finances, I'd always been the breadwinner for so long. To put any of that on him, he'd only been working full time for about a year at the time. He'd never worked full time in his life. He's stayed at home and looked after kids. So for him to sort of step up with the job that he got and said, "Look, I'll do what I can. Let's go for it. You can't go on the way that you've been going on." So he's been really behind me, and if he hadn't have been, it wouldn't have happened. The decision had to be a joint one. My friends have been fabulous. They contributed in so many ways, whether it's, come and help me out doing some dishes one day in the cafe, a little bit of money in the fundraising pot when I first set that up before I opened. Jobs like coming and doing some painting. I had a friend coming in and doing a mural for me today in my toilet, helped me to decorate there. My father-in-law who's come and helped do decorating for me. So many friends and family that have contributed, whether it's just with supportive words and encouragement or financial. People that gave me things. I put a shout out on Facebook before I opened saying that there was a few things that I needed. People just stood up in droves, whether it was a bit of equipment like a panini machine or a grill, or my mother-in-law who went and bought me a soup maker. So many people stood up and supported me, and that really meant the world. I think I discovered last year just how loved I was. I really realised an army of friends that I've got and how wonderful they are. And I think that the people I would like to thank. It means the world to us. They've changed my life.
Kind of leads us on nicely to the charity event that you've kindly got involved with, and that's taking place on the 16th of February. Is that correct?
That's right, yeah. From 2:00 on the 16th of February, Mr. Desmond Whip will be in to shave off his dreadlocks. He's had them for 16 years, and sadly he lost his mum to cancer. Because of that, he's willing to do this thing that gets rid of the things that mean so much to him. Off they're going to come, he's just going to go completely bald. Be quite strange. I've never known Des not have them before. I met him through work. He actually came to work for me while I was working at the last services that I was supporting deaf people. He came in as an agency worker and then started working with me for a little while. He's just a really wonderful and warm guy with a big heart. He always impressed me. I always liked him very much. And obviously we parted ways when he left the company to do a different job. We parted ways, and I didn't see him very often. When I heard about the event that he was doing, I thought it was just a wonderful thing to do. You know, he's had his dreadlocks for 16 years. I've got dreadlocks, so I like dreadlock doing. Only had mine for about a year, and I absolutely adore mine. I would hate the thought of having them shaved off. You know, they've absolutely changed my identity with myself. The fact that he's going ahead to do this thing like, to raise money for what took his mum away, just, you know, it really touched my heart, and I really wanted to do what I contacted me to see if I could come and do it in the basement as a venue. And I was absolutely thrilled and honoured that he thought of me. Of course, he can do it. And then on the day, you know, we're going to get the money in the bucket. We're going to try and raise as many pennies as we can to make this really worth what he's sacrificing, really worth what he's doing it for. So we've invited as many people as we can. We're trying to make the event shared as possible, and we're going to have buckets out. And I've made an agreement that any food or drink that I sell on the day, the people kind of paying full price for them, but 10% of all of the sales will be going directly into the bucket rather than the till. Let's try and make that a day where, you know, we really make a difference.
Yes, and like you said, you are putting anything that you take on the day, you will actually be donating 10% yourself to Desmond's Appeal. And on the day, you are catering for a crowd, aren't you? People are more than welcome to come on the day to Basement Snaxx and watch this event and take part in this event, aren't they?
They certainly are. I would imagine they'll be invited to help do the actual shave. Maybe people can cut a dreadlock off. If you want to get up and entertain our little crowd, play a little bit of music, everyone would be welcome, and everyone would be welcome to participate in any way that they want to try and make it as meaningful and as special as it can be, just for Des, really, and his family.
Fantastic. And is this the first charity? Have you ever done many charity events like this at Basement Snaxx, or is this the first one that you've done?
No, we had an Ox Jam event last year, which was a day of music. Local bands came in, and we had a bucket on the floor for that. And Ox Jam is kind of like a bit of a national charity that's connected to music and Oxfam, raising money for Oxfam through music events. So we've had one of them in there before.
Right, I think we've said all that needs to be said now. So without further ado, we're gonna wrap this interview up now. Donz, quickly before you go, can you just remind everybody where they can see the event, date and time, please, and where they can go?
If you come to my page, Basement Snaxx, that's SNAXX, as in Basement Jacks, but Basement Snaxx. You can find me on Facebook, you can find me on Twitter, and you can find me on Instagram. And all the details, all my events and everything I do are all over those pages.
Fantastic. And once again, I think I've never met Desmond Whip up in the northeast, and he seems a nice, genuine guy. Though we've spoke on Facebook at length, on through messages and that, and I think he will be absolutely delighted that you've taken the time to do this and help him with this event. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you for giving us the chance to get that heard by everybody, and thanks for helping us make it a little bit bigger. You know, hopefully it's going to be a fabulous day, and we're going to get some good money raised. So thank you kindly for giving us a voice.
Listen, that's what we're here for. We will never be, we have always said that we will never be bound by any geographical location. To me, there's no excuse for it in the 21st century. We can help each other as a species, whether you're in Newcastle and Peterborough, whether I'm in Timbuktu and you're in the Antarctic. There's no excuse for it. We've got to stick together. So I think you've been fantastic throughout this interview. Your restaurant sounds superb, and I encourage everybody to visit it. Where is it again? Ridley Place in Newcastle, is that correct?
Ridley Place in Newcastle, that's indeed right. Just off Northumberland Street near Haymarket End, which is a metro station.
Fantastic. So once again, Donz, may I take this opportunity to thank you very much for finding the time to carry out this interview, and may I say good luck on the day as well, and I hope you all have a fantastic day up there.
Thank you kindly. Thanks now. Bye, Paul.